Magistrates' courts are the first in line to make judgments in the judicial services. There have been a number of complaints about these courts and accusations made that they're not, that cases that they're dealing with are not being resolved timelessly. Alison Tilley is head of advocacy at the Open Democracy Advice Center, and she joins me now. Alison, good evening. Let's talk about just some of the issues that people are raising with our courts.
There's a range of issues which include how magistrates get appointed, how magistrates get disciplined, and we really have, I think, a lot more work to do to make sure that the right people are appointed in the right courts.
With all of these questions, Alison, how much of it points to the extent to which people either have confidence or have faith in the justice system, and the extent to which they believe that should they stand in front of any of those magistrates, they will get a fair hearing?
Well, I think that's a very interesting question, and we haven't really seen a lot of research around what user perceptions are in courts. We have been working on a survey like that, and we're expecting to release the results in about a month. What we do know is that many magistrates in the Magistrates Commission appointment process couldn't answer quite straightforward questions about the law. And what we also know is that magistrates themselves are very concerned about issues around corruption, not necessarily of magistrates themselves, but of the sort of the infrastructure around magistrates in magistrates' courts. So I think we have reason to be concerned.
There are, of course, certain norms and code of conduct that these officials are expected to abide by. Are you finding that there are high levels of accountability?
Well, again, something not often looked at, and we are, in fact, doing some research on that at the moment. Certainly what we see in the magistrates' courts is a number of cases where people have laid charges and magistrates have been found guilty and sanctioned and suspended. I think I contrast that with the High Court, where we've seen very few High Court judges actually deal with the allegations that have been made against them in open inquiries, and actually decisively rule on those. So there's certainly, again, cause for concern, but there are processes in place which seem to work.
Is there a pattern in terms of the cases of misconduct that are often reported?
It's a very broad range. I mean, you can imagine in any employer-employee situation, the range of issues that come up are broad. They can range from corruption to sexual harassment to people who are simply not fit for duty for perhaps health reasons. So it's a very broad spread, and I wouldn't say we have any trends emerging yet, but it's early days on the research.
Ultimately, people just want to be able to know that even where there is wrongdoing, and there's an impression, especially amongst the South African population, that if you've got money, basically, and you're before the justice system, you can buy your way out, and that many of these individuals who are presiding over cases, including magistrates, are up for a fee if you give them the right price. And I wonder how big a role accountability would play in perhaps changing that narrative.
Well, I think one of the things we're particularly interested in is how users see the magistracy. There is a concerning trend around corruption and issues around corruption, and we've been really lucky as a country. I think our judiciary has largely escaped those kinds of allegations, but they are definitely there and they definitely need to be investigated. The Magistrates Commission has quite a rigorous process which involves Parliament in terms of suspending magistrates and then having an inquiry about what they have or haven't done. And I think that's than what we would see for High Court judges.
All right.